All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Today I'm going to be doing a fact check of Professor Dave's new viral video that he dropped, which is how do we want to say this? Scathing. I don't think scathing is the right word. Maybe the ultimate scathing of Destiny that's ever been dropped by anyone. So we're going to do a fact check of all the different claims that were made in that video. And just for the record, I like Dave a lot. I like Stephen a lot. I work with both of them. And I will continue to work with both of them as long as they want to continue to work with me. I think they both have add a particular kind of value to the war of ideas that is different. Funnily enough, I think they have kind of a similar rhetorical, extremist, comedic style that also can allow them to walk back some claims that they've made. Or if I critique the fact checking today, maybe, and there's something I find that I think Dave was incorrect on, Dave could always say, like, you know, I didn't mean that part literally, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. We're going to take calls as well, but I'm just getting set up here. I just want to make sure the stream is looking healthy. Maybe there. What's up, everyone? If you want to call in, I have a live stage functioning here on our Discord server. Call in here. All right. I'm just going to make sure I get my shares going out there. I guess I should share to X. Say hello when you get into the stream on YouTube. Taking your calls. Boom. That'll do. Who's tweeting at me? Piece to pay. Yikes. Okay, I'm not going to repeat that word. Someone says, dude, I really hate how this calls into question the rest of his content. I really love his stuff. You don't have to view it that way. This is the wrong way of viewing this. Just because Dave FARINA might have put out a video that's full of some, some errors, doesn't mean you can't continue to enjoy the rest of his videos. Is my video, by the way, choppy for anyone out there? Hopefully it's not too bad. Yeah, there was a lot of certainty posturing from Dave. Of course, I'm going to be one to point that out a lot when we do this. I'm going to turn my stream down, I guess. That should make it less bouncy. Hopefully the video isn't terrible for you guys. But my main point is, just like Destiny, if Destiny, puts out a video that he gets a fact wrong, or you don't agree with his normative position on something, it doesn't mean that you have to throw away all the good stuff. Just like Professor Dave, like why would you do that? Now, there are some things. I just finished watching Destiny's reaction to what Professor Dave had to say, and there was a lot of allegations of defamatory things being spread about Destiny by Dave. So we'll go through all of this stuff, and I hope here at Pangburn, Dave's audience and Destiny's audience can come together and have some good faith, helpful conversations. I'm going to be taking calls as long as people are interested to be calling in. King says, it shows he doesn't follow his own standard of critical thinking, which is very damning. Can you name for me one person on this planet that perfectly follows their own standards of critical thinking? There isn't one. Human beings make mistakes. This video and some of the things said in this video might be a big mistake by Dave FARINA. There might be a bunch of mistakes in this video, but we're going to sort through that today and see how many mistakes there may or may not have been. I am not perfect as a fact checker either. And the systems I use aren't perfect. If you do want to call in, join our Discord server immediately, or I will find you and punish you for not joining. Here is the Discord link. We are in one of the stages, and I want to hear from you guys. So yeah, right off the bat, what I'm going to do today, I'm going to do a live stream again tomorrow. And what I'm going to do in the live stream tomorrow is I'm going to take Stephen's live stream, his response to Dave's video about him, and I'm also going to fact check Stephen's live stream, and then we'll do a comparison, like who's being more factual in this dispute, or in the rebuts that we just saw from Stephen. Someone says, just view the stuff Dave is an expert in as good content. Dave is just crashing out a little bit. Yeah, that may be the case. We'll look at the facts here today. Raslak says, Dave was one of the few science communicators that pulled me out of conspiratorial thinking. I'm also going to pull up the comment section here on Discord so people can see there. Please don't post anything. By the way, Don, Perry, Robin, if you guys could keep an eye on the Discord chat to make sure nobody posts anything inappropriate, like images or anything like that. They can say stuff, but okay, there we go. Fantastic. So just a little bit of a tasty update. I have contacted Dave. Dave and I, as of last night, actually, are planning to go out on tour a little bit together. Dave would be doing some lectures, kind of starting off with the lecture. Him and I would have a short dialectic per event and then Q&A with audience. We're going to multiply this across multiple cities. I think it's always good to get good science communicators out there. I've also played with the idea on occasion with Dave, and again last night, of him sharing the stage with Stephen Bonnell, Destiny. And last night was more about like not them sharing the stage together, but in Vancouver we have an event coming up where we have a venue booked for 2 days, and I wanted to maybe squeeze a Dave FARINA event in there, but he didn't really want to travel out of country. And, you know, as it stands right now, he doesn't want to be associated with Destiny in any way. And he did let me know that he was going to be dropping the video. And I watched a little bit of the video, like kind of like the first half this morning by myself, and then I caught kind of the last half of it with during Destiny's review there. So I have since, during the Destiny live stream, sent an email to Dave asking him if we could raise $1 million that would go directly to supporting Palestinian children in need, would Dave reconsider sharing the stage with Destiny? It's very rare that you can have a combination of speakers that you can really make a difference by just stomaching doing an event together and raising money for a great cause. nobody is going to be against raising money that's going to go directly to helping Palestinian children, which there are, tens of thousands in need right now. And I have, if you guys check out my X account, which I rarely use, but I've been enticed to maybe start using it more. There is a lot of good that can be done by well-being on a platform like X, where it's kind of the Wild West and there's a lot of bullying that happens there. So I like to consider myself the anti-bully and come in there and try to get people to engage in a more good faith, helpful way. And but anyways, if you check out what I dropped just today, I've also made that's a similar offer to Hassan to share Hassan Piker to share the stage with Destiny, and I think we'd be able to raise $5 million for Palestinian children with that event. And Hassan would just have to bite the bullet and sit there, interact with Destiny, talk about world issues a little bit, and then we have $5 million for Palestinian children. So hopefully you guys can head over to X, drop some comments, share, repost, whatever, retweet for the boomers. And yeah, hopefully, we can find a way for these people who are diametrically opposed or actually hate each other to come together and raise money for causes. Because surely there are things that are much more important than particular feuds between each other. And it's not to say there aren't good reasons why those feuds exist. But yeah, you know how to find my X account. Again, make sure you join our Discord server. We have good faith, helpful conversations happening all the time and debates. And today you're going to be able to call in by way of stages. Anyone who wants to call in, feel free to raise your hand, and I'll be taking callers as I go through the fact check here today. So let's see how well Dave did from a fact perspective. And then I'll give my own moral prescriptions based on my moral quest to maximize well-being, physical, mental, and social health for myself and those around me. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here on earth. It's the moral quest I made up that makes me feel good about my life. I am out to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. And I believe that my moral quest is ultimately born of my sentiments, just like any other human morality and normativity. So let's review Destiny Loves Genocide. The video contains a substantial core of well-supported information about the devastation of Gaza, statements by Israeli officials, abuses of Palestinian detainees, apartheid allegations, surveillance technology, and pro-Israel political influence. However, it is not academically reliable as a whole. Its recurring methodological problems are, number one, and I mentioned this during the live stream, Dusty's live stream, converting credible allegations or expert conclusions into universally settled facts. So again, converting credible allegations, and we know the difference between allegations and facts, hopefully everyone does, or expert conclusions, the conclusions of some experts, into universally settled facts. This is a powerful rhetorical trick. Number two, misrepresenting statistics and studies. And we're going to get into the specifics of all this, so strap in. And we will be taking in callers along the way. Number three, denying or minimizing contrary evidence, especially concerning October 7th. Treating correlation, corporate relationships, or political influence as proof of centralized control. Correlation does not equal causation. I think there are some problems relating to that common trope in this video. Presenting civil allegations and hostile interpretations as established personal facts with regards to Destiny himself. Repeatedly substituting insults, guilt by association, and motive speculation for actual evidence. So when it comes to the fact check we're going to look at, what we're going to confront is something that is factually mixed, very rhetorically extreme, and the methodology, which is kind of shocking with regards to Dave FARINA, because Dave FARINA, often his methodology is clear, concise, expert level, academically reputable. I think it was methodologically poor here in this video. And if you guys could, make sure you take a second to smash the like button on the YouTube video. That will help us attract more people to the conversation. So let's look at Gaza genocide and causality claims. So the principal genocide, death toll, and destruction claims appear kind of midway through the video, I would say. Maybe early to midway. So a claim Dave made, Israel is objectively committing genocide. Then the verdict is defensible expert conclusion, but overstated and an uncontested judicial fact. So this is an expert conclusion that people will point to. There's more information I'm going to read, but it's not uncontested. And I think the way that this was presented is that it's not really contested anymore, that Israel is objectively committing genocide. So Amnesty International, B'Tselem, I believe is how it's pronounced, Physicians for Human Rights Israel, the International Association of Genocide Scholars, and a UN Commission of Inquiry have concluded that Israel is committing genocide or genocidal acts. The UN Commission found genocidal intent and 4 prohibited genocidal acts. Sorry, 2 seconds. Nevertheless, the ICJ case remains in its written proceeding stage and has not produced a final merits judgment. The academically precise formulation is here: there is now a substantial and authoritative body of legal and scholarly opinion concluding genocide, but no final international court determination yet. So it might be Dave's opinion and the opinions of some experts and their conclusions that there is, in fact, a genocide occurring or has occurred, but that shouldn't be presented as a universal fact. It's still contested. The process, the highly detailed United Nations process, is still underway with regards to this determination. So and then the question would be, is it the biggest, like, someone could have the opinion still, Dave has the opinion that Israel is objectively committing genocide. He thinks that the support is overwhelming. He probably thinks it's just a matter of time that the international courts make this determination. So Dave claimed every single human rights organization in the world has labeled it a genocide. This is false. So this is the first false claim of Dave's. Several major organizations have done so, but not literally every organization. Some, including Human Rights Watch, initially used narrower formulations such as extermination, crimes against humanity, and acts of genocide. Institutional conclusions also differ in legal scope and wording. So it's just when Dave's saying every single human rights organization in the world has labeled it genocide, surely he knows that there are human rights organizations that don't disagree with this. Maybe Dave doesn't consider those to be legitimate human rights organizations, but the claim in and of itself is just false. So okay, we'll just move on to this. The reported total of another claim was that the reported total of roughly 70,000 deaths is dramatically low. So it's possible that there is an undercount, but Dave in the video is dramatically overstating what is known. So UN reporting cited 73,035 reported deaths by June 21st, 2026. Statistical research indicates that direct violent deaths were probably undercounted, but available estimates do not establish that hundreds of thousands had already been killed directly. So it's possible that there's an undercount, but Dave's presenting like that 70,000 deaths is dramatically too low, that it is in fact an undercount. This is again just presenting something as a fact here, when really, like, we don't really know. So we don't really know enough to make this determination. So the next claim, the real death toll is hundreds of thousands, perhaps 20% of Gaza's population. This was a claim by Dave. This is unsupported. So such a number could only be reached by combining confirmed deaths, missing persons, and speculative present and future indirect mortality. There's no reliable demographic study establishing that approximately 1/5 of Gaza's population has already died. So this is another unsupported presentation from Dave here. Dave's claim that the Lancet estimate said half of those deaths were children. This is false. That correspondence did not produce such an estimate. The video appears to combine separate demographic claims with the 186,000 calculation. So the Lancet estimate apparently did not say that half of those deaths were children. Let me just double check something. So another claim, about 78% of Gaza has been destroyed. This was another claim by Dave. So this is broadly accurate only if, quote, damaged or destroyed structures is meant. So UN satellite analysis found approximately 81% of structures damaged or destroyed by October 2025. Demolished is not equivalent, of course, to damage. So the video Dave created here uses a stronger term than the source supports. So damaged or destroyed is what Dave should have said. 81% of Gaza has been damaged or destroyed. That would have been more accurate, not 78% of Gaza has been destroyed. And the reason for this kind of nitpicking with Dave is Dave is the king nitpicker. He is the king of nitpicking, and that's a good thing for a science communicator. It's important because it's in those little nitpickeries where frauds get away with misinformation. I'm not calling Dave a fraud, but it's within that those places where people, the wrongdoers will squeeze in that misinformation wherever they're, or they will point to something like, oh, see, he had to exaggerate and say about 78% of Gaza has been destroyed. This is giving fuel to people out there to say that, Professor Dave is not being accurate in the way he's using language here. There was another claim: every hospital, school, bakery, village, and city has been destroyed. This is, for the most part, rhetorical hyperbole. So the destruction is, of course, exceptional. Approximately 93% of school buildings required major rehabilitation or reconstruction, and the health system was devastated. But every hospital, school, bakery, and settlement is just literally incorrect. So when you start saying things like every hospital, school, bakery, this paints a picture of a place that no longer has hospitals, schools, bakeries, villages, and any kind of remnants of a city. And that's not true. But you can actually try and, 93% of school buildings required major rehabilitation or reconstruction. That's bad enough. That's horrible. It's a horrible thing. We really need to in politics move away from overgeneralization, or in some cases overgeneralization fallacy. We don't want rhetoric to trump the facts. I shouldn't say Trump on the internet. Israel specifically targeted hundreds of journalists was another claim. This is partly supported, but again, overgeneralized. CPJ had documented 207 journalists and media workers killed by Israeli forces through April 2026 and identified at least 32 cases as apparently deliberate reprisal killings. That supports numerous targeted killings, but not proof that all or hundreds were deliberately selected because they were journalists. That's just it's just partly true, right? Half truths. We don't want half truths. We want full truths. We want facts. And Dave is, a proponent. Dave loves facts. He loves to put out videos that gives due seriousness to the specificity of language. He's big on that. Like when he criticizes someone like Sabina Hassenfelder or Eric Weinstein, he's always on their case for using language correctly and not trying to steer it towards a narrative. But I feel like in some of these cases, Dave loses that specificity here. The claim Israel targeted more than 1,000 doctors. Incorrect. UN reporting listed approximately 1,592 health workers that were killed, which includes nurses, paramedics, technicians, and other personnel, not more than 1,000 verified physicians. So, and the language of targeted more than 1,000 doctors. I would be curious as to where that's coming from, but as far as I can tell, that's correct. And by the way, I'm a fallibilist. Any of this fact checking I'm doing could be wrong. And, I'm open to correction on any of this, but I think that's what intellectual discourse is all about. All of us should be, kind of putting fallibilism in the first place of our philosophy. It's the first Pangburn virtue, accompanied by the Pangburn maxim that certainty is almost certainly unattainable. Fallibilism keeps us cognitively flexible and open to update. And I noticed it was kind of Dave spoke with a lot of certainty posturing in the video, more so than I've seen in many of Dave's videos. Like, he had the posture of a certaintist, like there's no way he could be wrong about the information he was delivering. And as we've found out already, it seems like there are some half-truths, some falsehoods, and claims that are unsupported or misrepresented already, and we're really only taking our first little nibble at this. The claim white phosphorus is an illegal weapon. This is somewhat misleading. So white phosphorus is not categorically prohibited. Its use against military targets may be lawful, while airburst use is in densely populated civilian areas can be indiscriminate and violate international humanitarian law. Human Rights Watch verified its use in Gaza and Lebanon. Just going to take a quick peek. Anyone who wants to call in on Discord can raise their hand. I'm going to kind of be taking callers intermittently. I was also, Don told me that the stream is lagging a bit, but hopefully that gets fixed. And by the way, join our Discord server, everybody. We are live almost every night on our Discord server, having good faith, helpful conversations. And I should also repeat that I have reached out to Dave. Maybe this is him getting back to me. Okay. Yeah, so Dave has turned down, the opportunity to sit down with Stephen regarding this topic. Even if we could raise $1 million for Palestinian children. Yeah, okay. I just wanted to read through that email. So anyways, Dave has no interest at all. Okay. All right. Let's continue here. The claim Israeli forces have deliberately shot or sniped Palestinian children. This is supported in documented cases. Universal wording here would be excessive. So a UN Commission of Inquiry documented specific killings involving drones, snipers, and precision weapons, and concluded that children had sometimes been deliberately targeted. Israel disputes the commission's conclusions. So the claim Israeli forces have deliberately shot or sniped Palestinian children. So there are documented cases of this. I think it's more clear to say that there are documented cases where this has occurred. And I also think it's responsible to also mention that this is disputed. That and the universal wording. I don't have too much of an issue with that. Like, if it is in fact the case that Israeli forces have deliberately shot or sniped Palestinian children, like, for me as a thinker, I want to understand the context of what happened there, how it was dealt with. Was this supported by, those in power, by the military itself? I would assume it wasn't. But yeah, that's one I want to further investigate. I'm going to make a little mark there. Another claim was sexual abuse and torture of Palestinian detainees are systematic. So strongly, this is strongly supported. So sexual abuse and torture of Palestinian detainees are systematic. A UN inquiry documented widespread and systematic sexual and gender-based violence against Palestinian detainees, including sexualized torture and rape allegations. The West Bank is governed under apartheid, a defensible mainstream human rights conclusion. So yeah, there will be many human rights organizations that will conclude this, that the West Bank is governed under apartheid. Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and B'Tselem have separately concluded that Israeli authorities maintain a system amounting to apartheid and persecution. Israel strongly rejects that characterization, but it is not a fringe academic claim. So yeah, there would be some support, and there's obviously going to be people who disagree with that claim for their own reasons. Israeli rhetoric. So the video presents numerous statements from politicians, soldiers, journalists, and broadcasters as proof of genocidal intent. Many of the underlying statements are real, and databases have documented hundreds of examples of dehumanization, collective punishment rhetoric, forced displacement, advocacy, and destructionist language. The UN Commission of Inquiry specifically concluded that statements by senior officials were direct evidence of genocidal intent, and that some constituted incitement. But the video has these three errors with regards to Israeli rhetoric. It does not consistently distinguish government decision makers from journalists, private citizens, or fringe activists. It seldom supplies enough surrounding context to judge each quotation individually. It misidentifies Francesca Albanese as a former head of the UN Refugee Agency. She is the UN Special Rapporteur on human rights in the occupied Palestinian territory, an independent expert, not a former UNRWA chief. Okay, so there's a misidentification of Francesca Albanese here. Israeli public opinion. The video claims that more than 80% of Israelis support the complete annihilation of Palestinians. That this is false. There is disturbing polling evidence, but it does not establish the stated proposition. So a 2025 Tel Aviv University survey found that 63% of Jewish respondents supported transferring Gaza's Palestinian population elsewhere. Approximately 46% supported rebuilding Israeli settlements in Gaza. Support reached roughly 80% for some propositions among respondents identifying with the political right, not among all Israelis. In the same polling, about 65% of the Israeli public prioritized securing the hostages' release over eliminating Hamas. So support for transfer, support for settlements, and support for annihilation are not interchangeable concepts. So again, in the video, there's a claim that more than 80% of Israelis support the complete annihilation of Palestinians. I think that's false, based on what I can find here. Okay, good. Welcome to the stream, everybody. By the way, if you want to call in and have your say, you can do so here. We are live on Discord. I'm going to bring in Don Don. Don Don, you're on the air. Welcome. Oh, sorry, one sec, Don Don, before you go. 1 second. For some reason, my Discord is not tuned to my earbuds. Are you there?
I'm there.
Fantastic. Okay, go ahead.
I think it's important to, first of all, I was very shocked by Dave's video because it felt to me a lot more like the videos he debunks than the video that he makes, with like Instagram clippings and sources from like TikTok posts, and that seems very counter to what Dave usually uh, creates. But I think an important thing in general when people talk about this topic, I think they treat the UN as some sort of like scientific or truth-oriented body, if that makes sense, Travis, right?
Yeah.
Um, the UN is a political body. It's politics. In the same way that when the state of Israel claims something, or the United States government claims something like we did with Dodge, that isn't enough to substantiate or should warrant our belief in the truth matter of what is being presented. And we have to remember to actually take a look at exactly what's going on and what are the sources they're using, where they get the information, what analysis they're creating. And this is what Dave does when it comes to other videos, like when he talks about anti-vaxxers. He looks at the study that they make. He shows why the study is dumb, why the study is stupid, why it doesn't hold up to any standards. And you know, one of the sources he brought up is that the UNHCR concluded that Israel's soldiers are targeting children. When that came out, I remember being like, no way that they were able to do this. And I actually did a whole analysis on it, and I have a whole Google Drive on the analysis of each one of those claims and what the sources they got, what the sources claim, what the sources saw, and how the conclusions are made from it. And to me, it doesn't seem to have followed. I posted it in the side chat. I'll post it in the YouTube chat right now. So that's really how I feel about it. I feel like it's not rigorous at all. It's a lot of, and even the last quarter of the video is him basically calling Destiny a pedophile. So
Yeah, I mean, and I'm just kind of shocked in the lack of rigor, because Dave typically is very, very rigorous with his work, highly academic in the delivery of his work, but this one seemed to come from like the the deepness of his being, and he didn't give as much of a fuck as he normally does give to wanting to get the facts crystal clear. Like maybe because it's a political video, and it's a really amplified topic, but I don't know, what do you think about that?
I think it's like the Jordan Peterson thing was where when he started out, he was he talked about psychology and he got into politics, and he's not bringing the political lens towards it. He's not recognizing, now he's engaging in politics. And the way you engage with politics critically is not the same way you engage with science critically. You can pull up and look at scientific consensus and peer-reviewed articles. That's fine. But a UN commission report is just a UN commission. There's no peer review, right? When someone commits a crime in public and you watch a video, you don't get to decide whether that is guilty or not guilty. That's the court's jurisdiction. I think it's the same issue.
Right.
What's happening here?
You mentioned what do you feel about this kind of rhetoric? I know you are of Jewish heritage, and you hear it from you hear probably more extreme from Hassan. I don't know how you feel about it, because what Dave had to say in the video was quite extreme, but you've heard a lot from Hassan. How does this kind of rhetoric make you feel?
I think I feel like what Black people felt like in like 2014 during the BLM movement.
Okay.
Basically, like when they say, no, I don't hate Black people, I just hate thug Black culture, or I don't. It's not like anyone. They don't hate Blacks. I just hate anyone who supports BLM. All right, like this is what I hear. I hear a way, it's the same anti-Semitic tropes. Jews want to kill children. Jews control our governments. Jews take over. Jews are a small minority that's conniving behind the scenes. Jews are manipulating our media. Jews. This is what I am hearing, but instead of the word Jew, he's using the word Zionist. And he might not be aware that he's being anti-Semitic, but I see and hear the anti-Semitism like a black person can hear something like, "Oh, it's BLM. People who support BLM are racist. People who support BLM are lazy. People who support BLM are part of a thug culture. They're just criminals. They just want to get away with crimes. They're looters." Right? This is the type of language you generally would hear against black people. Personally, it's just scary. For me, it's just scary. I never thought I would feel this way in the United States. I've lost friends because of this recent conflict. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I think that it's just racism and it's bigotry. When you start making a video of you yelling about they, them, controlling governments, manipulating media, doing whatever, like when you start getting into that type of rhetoric, I think you have to take a step back and maybe view your own bigotry.
All right, thanks, Don. I'm going to get to some more reading here.
Thank you.
All right. Everyone, make sure you smash the like button on the stream. Sorry, there's a bit of lag with my internet right now. I'm going to see if I can adjust something in the settings to clear that up a little bit. That would be nice. Maybe if I did that, I don't know. I think it's literally just having an internet issue. Oh, that might have helped. I'm going to be streaming at okay. That seems to have worked. Let's see. Okay, great. All right. Yeah, you guys just please work on admins, how you can get credentials for people to speak in the channel. Our new Discord members. All right, let's get to a little more reading, shall we? Okay, let's get to October 7th atrocity claims and maybe some potential propaganda here. And this was early on in the video. So the claim 40 beheaded babies was fabricated. This is largely correct regarding the precise viral claim. So Dave seems to be correct about this one. So children and infants were killed on October 7th, but the claim that 40 babies had been beheaded was never substantiated and arose from confused reporting. Correcting that rumor does not negate the documented killing of children, of course. The claim that Biden falsely claimed to have personally seen photographs of beheaded babies, that is correct. The White House clarified that Biden had not personally seen such photographs and was relying on reports from Israeli officials and news coverage. Well, why the hell did Biden lie about that he had actually seen them himself? That's bad. That's a really bad thing to get wrong or lie about, All October 7th, this is another claim from Dave, all October 7th rape allegations were fabricated. Sorry, I just need to move this over. This is false and one of the video's most serious errors. So again, the claim that Dave made was all October 7th rape allegations were fabricated. This is false. Really egregious error here by Dave. A UN mission found reasonable grounds to believe that rape and gang rape occurred at several locations and convincing information that hostages were subjected to sexual violence. The UN also found that some individual viral stories were false, inaccurate, or unverifiable. The proper conclusion is therefore documented sexual violence alongside misinformation about some specific cases not wholesale fabrication. So this is one of the worst moments for Dave in the video, that all October 7th rape allegations were fabricated. Now, just me putting on my Professor Dave hat for a moment, Dave might say, well, even of those actual rape cases that did occur, I'm saying that even those cases, there were fabrications connected to those cases. But even if Dave said that, my rebuttal would be, but you got to be, we're talking about rape here. Families who had members of their, people who had members of their own families raped. And when you say all October 7th rape allegations were fabricated, you're not giving due seriousness. You're not giving enough moral care to those victims and the, and people, how people would feel about you saying that about victims of rape. And, think about how you as a father would feel if somebody said that, made that claim about someone in your family who had occurred, who had this befall them. I think that's a bad use of language. It's not conscientious. So I think that needs an update. Some reflection there. The IDF called Arabic Days of the Week a list of Hamas guards. That was a claim. One more time. The claim is the IDF called Arabic Days of the Week a list of Hamas guards. This is correct. This is a good criticism. In the Hantisi hospital presentation, the supposed names were the repeating Arabic names of the days of the week. The calendar began on October 7th, which could still have evidentiary significance, but it was not a named guard roster. So correct, Dave. The next claim, the vast Hamas command center alleged beneath Al-Shifa did not exist. So one more time, the vast Hamas command center alleged beneath Al-Shifa did not exist. This is partly correct. Partly correct. Evidence supported some Hamas military use of the hospital complex, including weapons, tunnels, hostages, or command activity. However, initial Israeli depictions of a vast central headquarters were not substantiated at the scale originally suggested. So again, partly correct, half truth here. Israel, and to be more precise, is like, instead of the vast Hamas command center alleged beneath Al-Shifa did not exist, you would say it did not exist in the way some Israeli depictions would have had you believe. Just adding, not speaking so generally, getting a little more detailed, which again, Dave typically is, engaging in that way in most of his videos. Generally, Dave's attention to detail is something I love about Dave FARINA and his channel, Professor Dave Explains. The attention to detail and being able to identify where people are using misinformation in a very tricky way that can fool the average armchair digester of these ideas. That's where the great danger often lies with regards to misinformation, in those areas that are hard to detect, and Dave's really good at detecting them. But I think he's falling on his own sword a little bit in this video, committing some of these errors. I don't think Dave is engaging in deliberate misinformation here. I have no good reason to believe that Dave doesn't believe what he's saying, but I think there are some things that are just not factually the case. The claim, Israel knew the detailed October 7 attack was coming and deliberately allowed it. One more time. Israel knew the detailed October 7 attack was coming and deliberately allowed it. This is completely unsupported. There is compelling evidence of intelligence and preparedness failures, ignored warnings, and mistaken assessments. That is not evidence that Israeli leaders intentionally permitted the attack. Just like, the guy who owned or was leasing the World Trade Centers missed 9/11 was like the one day he missed, like, in his entire career of work, because his wife was forcing him to go and get some medical procedure done or a screening or something like that. And then he happened to have, I think it was a few months before, buy a hefty insurance policy for, the World Trade Centers that ended up paying out large in his favor. But that doesn't mean he knew that the World Trade Centers were going to get hit by planes, by terrorists, right? So this kind of conspiratorial line drawing is a mistake. It's just a mistake. Don't hate Dave for the mistake, but I think it's a mistake. I'm happy to talk to Dave about it, or, maybe he knows something I don't know. But this is why I'm a fallibilist. As the first Pangburn virtue, fallibilism, certainty is almost certainly unattainable. We ought to carry a fallibilist posture while we are digesting information like this. I am in no way an expert on this information, but I care about wanting to learn the actual facts involved and what is true about these issues. So when I give my moral prescriptions, once I know all the facts, I am giving moral prescriptions that are well grounded. So that's a big one. I don't think there's any good reason to believe, because I don't consider conspiratorial line drawing good reason to believe things, that Israel knew the detailed October 7th attack was coming and they deliberately allowed it. Welcome, everyone. Hopefully you guys subscribe, hit that like button on the stream. I plan on doing more live streams like this. If you're a fan of just really trying to cut through the crap. Again, I'm not saying Dave's crap. I love Dave. I love Professor Dave. I give him my full moral consideration. I just think he's wrong about some things in this video. I gave you guys the link to join our Discord server. We have good faith, helpful conversations happening all the time on Discord. So join us. Shall we continue? There's a lot more. The claim is hundreds of October 7th Israeli deaths were caused by the IDF or Hannibal Directive. This, again, is unproven and exaggerated. A UN inquiry found some evidence that the Hannibal Directive was invoked and that Israeli fire caused certain casualties. It could not verify claims that helicopters indiscriminately killed large numbers at the festival or establish hundreds as an attributable total. So this seems to be unproven and exaggerated. By the end of this, I will provide in the description of this video and a link to the actual PDF I've created that will include all of the citations and references for everything I'm talking about today. That will be in the description for this video. The Nova this claim, the Nova Festival was deliberately moved into danger as part of a setup. This is unsupported conspiracy inference. Questions about last-minute scheduling, security failures, or changed patrols do not establish deliberate facilitation of the massacre. No credible inquiry has demonstrated such a plan. I'd be curious to know why Dave believes this. There was a lot of appeals to everyone with half a effing brain is going to realize that this was a setup or that this was a case. And I'm not doing, in my rambling, I'm not doing good service to Dave's video. But nevertheless, I don't think there's any credibility to the claim that the Nova Festival was deliberately moved into danger as part of a setup. So the video is exposing, with regards to October 7th, several false or inflated atrocity stories, but then makes the mirror image error of dismissing well-supported crimes by Hamas. That's the general take I have with regards to the October 7th mention in the video. Let's look at mention of Hezbollah and Lebanon. So the video portrays Hezbollah as essentially a defensive organization whose terrorism label is absurd. I think this is materially misleading. Hezbollah did emerge amid Israel's 1982 invasion and occupation of Lebanon and initially mobilized around armed resistance. But it was also created with major Iranian Revolutionary Guard support, developed an explicitly revolutionary Islamist program, conducted attacks against civilians and foreign targets, participated in Lebanese coercion and political violence, fought for the Assad government in Syria, and maintained a large independent military force after Israel's 2000 withdrawal. Describing it only as an organic defensive response omits most of its subsequent record. Someone just asked, I wonder how many subs Dave lost over this video. I hope Dave doesn't lose any subs over this video. Dave FARINA, the world needs to stop doing this. Just because Dave may, in fact, and it seems like he has, made mistakes in the video he released, doesn't mean he has no value. Doesn't mean the value of everything else you used to value loses its value. Is that a riddle? Dave's just Dave. Dave's a fallible human being just like anyone else. So don't go and unsubscribe from Dave because he gets things wrong here. And it's not like the entire video was incorrect, right? We're nitpicking. In the same way, Dave FARINA nitpicks other people's videos, which is a good thing. Let's go here. Let's go to the section U.S.-Israel legislation and military integration. The Futures Act. The video claims that proposed legislation would formally merge the American and Israeli militaries, eliminate congressional control of Israeli aid, make Americans eligible to be drafted into wars for Israel, give Israel American intelligence on U.S. citizens, make the Pentagon dependent on Israel, potentially facilitate a military coup against a future president. A real bill followed by mostly invented extrapolations is the conclusion here. So all of these things, the video by Dave claimed all of these things would accompany the Futures Act. The verdict here is that this is a real bill, but all of these, all the results of this bill are mostly invented extrapolations. So here's why. The House and Senate Futures Act proposals create a framework for joint research, testing, procurement, weapons development, AI, cyber, autonomous systems and integration of Israeli origin technology into U.S. systems. That is consequential military industrial integration. The legislative text does not merge the armed forces, conscript Americans, the armed forces, conscript Americans for Israel, transfer all classified intelligence, abolish congressional appropriations authority, or authorize a coup. This is a recurring pattern in the video. The factual starting point is significant enough, but it is weakened by speculative maximalism. Or we could even say speculative extremism. So, are you going to bed, baby? Sorry, I got to give my little baby Aegean a kiss. Come give daddy a kiss. Give me a kiss. Are you trying? Give me that. Give me that, baby. No. I love you. Have a good sleepy. Do, 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 do. Okay. Just had to put on my daddy hat for a second there. Yeah, so like in this video, the factual starting point is significant enough, but it is weakened by speculative extremism. I think there was a lot by Dave here that was extreme. Now, Dave can be an extreme guy anyway, like in a lot of his other videos, in the way he uses language, the personal attacks, attacks in general. But these are extreme, like, conclusions or warnings that are being treated as facts in and of themselves, it seems. Not just saying that, like, a potential outcome of the Futures Acts is X. The Futures Acts would, formally merge the American and Israeli militaries, make the Pentagon dependent on Israel. Like, I don't know. It's a strange video for Dave with this amount of seemingly this amount of mistakes. Okay. Let's look at Palantir, Meta, YouTube, and surveillance technology. I might be pronouncing that wrong. Palantir has a strategic partnership with Israel's defense ministry. This is true. Palantir publicly announced a strategic partnership for technology supporting Israel's war-related mission. Palantir also works with ICE. This is true. So Dave's right about this stuff. Palantir has held ICE contracts, including systems used in immigration enforcement. And then the claim is, therefore, Israel is using the same system to control American protesters. So this is an unsupported inference. So corporate overlap and shared vendors create legitimate civil liberties concerns, but they do not prove Israeli command or access to domestic American operations. We need to be careful not to fall for, and I'm not saying Dave necessarily did here, but not to fall for that old trope that Israel or, and I'm not saying Dave said this, or the Jews are using X technology or partnership to help control operations around the globe or in the country. Especially if we are making an unsupported inference or engaging in conspiratorial line drawing. So just because Palantir has a strategic partnership with Israel Defense Ministry, and just because Palantir also works with ICE, does not follow that Israel is using the same system to control American protesters. Meta complied with 94% of Israeli removal demands. That's the claim. The verdict here, credibly reported, but based on leaked data. So reporting based on internal documents found approximately 94% compliance with Israeli government takedown requests. It is a serious finding, though not an independently audited public statistic. So I guess kind of what one is getting at here is, Israel's, control over the internet, and Meta is a big piece of it. YouTube removed more than 700 Palestinian human rights videos. This is credibly reported. So reporting documented more than 700 removals from Palestinian rights organizations. Sorry, 1 second. What happened to my other window? Reporting documented more than 700 removals from Palestinian rights organizations, particularly after U.S. sanctions affected some organizations. That, of course, does not by itself prove that all removals were directed by Israel. Right. Like, it would be wrong to infer or to claim that YouTube removed more than 700 Palestinian human rights videos because it was directed to by Israel. I don't see any evidence of that. Here's another claim. Israeli-made FalcoNet systems are being installed in American police vehicles. That is true. Cognites, I think, cell site simulators have been purchased by U.S. agencies and can compel nearby phones, including innocent bystanders' phones, to connect. So that's true. All information gathered is accessible. With regards to FalcoNet, all information gathered is accessible to Israel. That's unsupported. So reporting stresses that retention policies, vendor access, and data architecture are opaque. It does not establish automatic transfer to the Israeli government. So just because Israeli-made FalcoNet systems are being installed in American police vehicles, that does not mean that that information is automatically transferred to the Israeli government. To believe that would be conspiratorial, unless we can give good reason. And if someone's going to say like, well, I mean, it's Israel and Jewish people, then we're in really bad territory there. TikTok, Larry Ellison, and media ownership. The transcript's media control argument appears especially. Okay, yeah. So we can look at this was a bit later in the conversation. So the claim Larry Ellison bought TikTok is apparently misleading. So the U.S. TikTok arrangement placed control in a joint venture dominated by Oracle, Silver Lake, MGX, and Dell-linked investors, with ByteDance retaining approximately 19.9%. Ellison is deeply connected through Oracle, but saying he personally purchased TikTok is inaccurate. So, yeah, he didn't personally purchase TikTok. So that is a misleading claim. Paramount, Warner Bros., CNN, HBO, and CBS, they are now all one company owned by Larry Ellison. This is false or premature. So a proposed Paramount Skydance acquisition of Warner Bros. Paramount Skydance acquisition of Warner Bros. Discovery would create a conglomerate containing major assets, including CBS, CNN, and HBO. As of July 28th, 2026, the transaction had not closed and faced antitrust litigation. Ellison family financing and influence are relevant, but not equivalent to personal sole ownership of every outlet. They are, and the claim was, they are now all one company owned by Larry Ellison. So that's again false or premature. Barry Weiss and Scott Pelley. The factual core is substantially accurate that Barry Weiss became a senior CBS editorial executive and Scott Pelley was dismissed after a public conflict with leadership. Whether Weiss gutted CBS is an evaluative judgment. The claim Zionists control nearly all Western media. The verdict here is unsupported conspiracy claim. Again, we're in that conspiracy zone. So ownership, concentration, elite networks, political lobbying, donor pressure, and measurable framing biases are legitimate subjects of empirical investigation. They do not establish coordinated, quote, Zionist control of almost all Western media. The formulation reproduces a classic hidden group control narrative and supplies no ownership data set, causal model, or evidence of centralized direction. The video's occasional substitution of Zionist for Jew does not make the structure of the argument methodologically sound. So research can find systematic bias in media portrayal of Israeli and Palestinian victims without requiring a secret control theory. And the secret control theory is dangerous. It does feed anti-Semitism, I think. And again, I don't think that's what Dave's trying to do here. But I think inadvertently it does. The classic hidden group control narrative of the Zionist or the Jew. I think Dave would, to Steelman Dave, I think he would say that, it's wrong to equate Zionist to Jew in this context. But replacing Zionist with Jew doesn't make the structure of the argument better or more sound. It's still the same just incorrect way of framing these things. There is no Zionist control nearly all Western media. That just isn't the case. If you think it is the case, make sure you drop a comment. Eddie Dean says, guess Pangburn is looking for a check too. What do you mean by that? Naomi Nada says, can you confirm that Dave has refused a debate with Destiny? Yeah. So Dave initially refused on a couple different occasions. And then today when I offered that we could I think we could raise $1 million for Palestinian children. And with an event like this, Dave still didn't want to do it. That's not saying Dave doesn't care about Palestinian children, by the way, but I think it's an additional incentive, and it's a true additional incentive that I really do believe that we could raise that much money for this debate to occur without much trouble between the two, all three of our platforms, and I think it would be a great thing to do. If that just means Dave and Destiny need to sit on stage together and stomach each other for a bit, or tell each other how the things about what they do, these are the things that bother them, and then maybe talk a bit about world issues or whatever, just so we can raise $1 million for Palestinian children. I think it's something we should be doing, quite frankly. But Dave doesn't want to do it. He doesn't have to. And for anyone that's new to the stream, I did make this offer. If you go to my X account, I'll actually give you guys the link while we're live here. It looks like this tweet has blown the F up, by the way. Yeah, it's been seen by 30,000 people. But here's the link anyway, if people want to go on X and repost it, that would be cool. But I have said that for a Destiny versus Hassan date, or them just in conversation with the moderator or whatever, I think we could raise $5 million for Palestinian children. And again, if Destiny has already agreed to do it, if Hassan just completely refuses even for that, I'm like, come on, dude. Like, I think he knows we could raise the $5 million for this, and it would just go directly to helping children in need. And what does he have to do? He's just got to, bite the bullet and sit on stage with someone he hates, I think, and maybe exchange back and forth a bit with him, or we can have an hour of silence. I don't know, but people would want to hear the conversation. So, who gave the Pangburn producer role to somebody who's new? Like, come on, you guys. We have other roles. Yeah, go ahead, Perry.
Yeah, because no one can raise their hand, and I've been trying to get your attention to that.
Oh, okay.
It's not a role thing. Let me know when you're ready for a speaker. I might need to give them the producer role because no one else can. Don could do it because he's a producer. I can do it because I'm a producer. So let me know when you're ready for a speaker, and I'll invite them. If they can't do it that way, then I'll need to give them the producer role. Yeah,
okay. It sounds like we're having an issue with the queuing system. So, everyone just kind of like tag Perry if you want to be in the queue. Mega Wavy Paradise. And
we have a queue. It's just up to you whenever you're ready for the next
one. You have a queue already. Okay.
We've been had one.
Yep. Okay. Let's take a caller then. Let's take one person.
Errorbot, I invited you to speak.
All right. Errorbot.
And if not, I think Dugist. Okay, Errorbot said he's back.
Invite to speak. Errorbot, did that work? I'm just seeing if the Errorbot one worked. We're going to take a couple callers. Errorbot, you just got to click accept, or we can move on to the next.
There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Hello?
What's up, Errorbot?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, beautiful. So, kind of just wanted to rewind a little bit overall, if we're going about this kind of in a, I guess, scientific way.
Yeah, we're looking at the facts today. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of some things I want to just kind of bring up.
Sure.
I mean, as we've just been saying, this is very unlike Dave, someone who's just been kind of like factually on top of it, all that such. But there's kind of a bigger issue with this kind of being, he's been kind of hinting at it and kind of throwing some things out there. But this is kind of his first truly big jump into like the political world, which I mentioned earlier. And I honestly think this was kind of a lost opportunity to really hone down, if we're getting specific on stuff, just like the politicians, some higher level politicians in Israel saying some more just unhinged stuff, and kind of really getting into the nitpick on, hey, this is truly factual information. So when we're doing these things of like, we're jumping into political world where it's all a bunch of smoke and windows, and you're just, I get manipulating the system.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Like, I agree with you that there is a missed opportunity here. Like when you see Professor Dave drop a political video, let's say maybe it's for the first time, you're excited. You're like, oh, okay, now I'm going to get something that's completely void of any of the typical political nonsense, the overgeneralization, fallacious way of approaching things, the half truths, an important delineation between one's normative perspective and the facts in and of themselves. So yes, I agree with you. So far through this analysis, and from what I heard today and listening to the video, I agree with you. I think it's a missed opportunity.
Absolutely. And I kind of mentioned it kind of in the we were just talking about it in Discord with like, that's the issue, is this could potentially hurt science communication, because there's even people, no matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, where they'll even start believing conspiracy theories when there's just basic scientific evidence to debunk it, because the political world is so much of just lying, manipulating, a lot of the lobbying and shit like that. Oops, sorry. Where just you could have really come out on top and have science be the one true kind of voice in a lot of chaos, and it wasn't there. But he could really touch on topics like the lobbying stuff was mentioned. That is a real thing. A lot of corporations do it. Outside foreign places, the lobbying is there. The political speak is absolutely there. Even the stuff with you talked about Joe Biden earlier, where he said he watched a video and that turned out to be true or untrue.
What a stupid! Why lie about that? Like, I want to call it a lie because I think Joe Biden understands the difference of whether he saw pictures of beheaded children or whatever it was or not. That kind of stuff is just like, we need people to stop just like unabashedly lying about things. It's just a huge problem across the board in every field, in every category of inquiry. It's just a huge problem. So lying, this is why for me, my minimum requirements for a fruitful dialectic are good faith, which means honesty and sincerity of intention. So if you get something incorrect, that's fine. We're all incorrect about all kinds of stuff, but you shouldn't be going around lying and trying to deceive people. That's a different issue. That's a violation of my minimum requirements for fruitful dialectic. Then, of course, helpfulness is the second part to that. But I'm gonna get on to reading. Arabot, did you have anything else quick you wanted to share?
No, just that to kind of finish off some final words. I just hope we can in the future really get back to this and hopefully push science communication back more into a more positive light for politics.
Yes. Thank you, Arabot. Really appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Arabot, everyone. I hope you come back as well. We have live intellectual discussions every day. I'm going to be streaming more on the main channel like this as well, everyone. So if you're interested in moral philosophy, if you're interested into a fair approach to understanding the actual facts of what are going on with situations, I tend to be really careful when it comes to delineating my moral opinion with regards to right, wrong, good, and bad in the world from the facts themselves, because I want to make sure everyone has a clear idea of the facts before we start putting energy into ethically deliberating on those facts. So yes, and on YouTube, please join our Discord server. This is where all the immediate action happens. This is where I drop the most up-to-date information with what's going on at Pangburn. Okay, we got a lot more to go through here. AIPAC. The claim that AIPAC political network spent approximately $126 million during the 2024 election cycle is broadly accurate, depending on which affiliated PACs and expenditures are aggregated. The statement that no Republican opposes Israeli policy is false. That statement was made. Republican opposition is rare, but it exists. Representative Thomas Massey, for example, introduced and voted for an amendment in July 2026 to eliminate $3.3 billion in military assistance. He was the only Republican supporting it. The accurate academic conclusion is that AIPAC exercises unusually large and well-documented electoral influence, not that it exercises absolute control over every politician. After this next section, I can bring in another caller if we want to get them standing by. Protest and anti-terrorism laws. So Dave's claim, Germany is making ordinary criticism of Israel punishable by 5 years in prison. This is false and misleading. The proposal concerns public denial of Israel's right to exist or calls for its destruction under circumstances conducive to anti-Semitic violence, not ordinary policy criticism. So that one is just by Dave is false or misleading. 8, the next claim, 8 anti-ICE protesters received 30 to 100 years merely for protesting. This is materially misleading. So the prosecutions involved allegations of explosives, shootings, attempted murder, and conspiracy. One defendant who received 30 years was not physically at the protest, but was convicted for logistical participation, reducing the case to moving a box. Reducing the case to moving a box omits the prosecution's conspiracy theory and violent context. UK national security legislation could expose journalists or aid workers to 14 years. A legitimate civil liberties concern here, but overstated again in the video. Legal groups warned that broadly framed foreign power offenses could affect journalists, researchers, and aid workers. It does not straightforwardly criminalize all anti-Israel reporting or protests. The next claim, the U.S. NSPM 7 criminalizes anti-capitalism, anti-Christianity, and migration advocacy. Unsupported description of the text. The memorandum expands investigation of domestic political violence and raises genuine civil liberties questions, but the video presents ideological examples and feared applications as though they were express criminal offenses. So we have, false, misleading, unsupported aspects of the section that dealt with protests and anti-terrorism laws. Okay, section 10, Zionism, Judaism, Semites, in quotations, and genetics. So, quote, Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews are not Semites, while Palestinians are. This was the claim. Scientifically and linguistically confused. This claim. Quote, Semitic properly designates a family of languages, including Hebrew and Arabic. Anti-Semitism is a historically established term meaning prejudice or hatred directed against Jews. It does not mean hostility toward every speaker of a Semitic language. The etymological word game does not alter the term's accepted meaning. So remember, words have usages, they don't have intrinsic meaning. So the Holocaust Encyclopedia here is referencing this popular usage of the term anti-Semitism and its relation to Semitic or Semites. The quote, Ashkenazi Jews are simply European. This is false. Genomic research consistently finds that Ashkenazi Jews possess both Middle Eastern, Levantine, and European ancestry. Estimates vary by method, source population, and genomic region, but the evidence does not support either, quote, purely European or purely Levantine. It might be Levantine. I can't remember. Levantine. So that one's just false. The claim was Ashkenazi Jews are simply European. That claim was false. For some reason, I have 10 billion messages. Okay, it looks like Trey's up next. Sorry, give me 1 second. I just got flooded with a lot of messages. I don't know what's going on. Who cares? Okay, once I get through these few more claims before we start the next section, I'll bring in the next caller. The claim Palestinians are indigenous to the Levant. Broadly supported, this is, with the normal qualifications applicable to population genetics. So Palestinians and other Levantine populations demonstrate substantial regional continuity alongside later admixture. Genetic ancestry cannot by itself determine political sovereignty or modern legal rights, but it contradicts claims that Palestinians are merely recent foreign arrivals. Welcome, everyone. Make sure you smash that like button on YouTube. Really appreciate that you guys are here for this. It's always nice to see an audience that's interested in, like, actually fact-checking what's being said in the political space. That's what I try to do here when I do my live streaming. One of the claims by Dave was Israel bans ancestry tests because they would expose Jewish origins. This is an unsupported conspiracy theory. Israel tightly regulates genetic testing, especially tests concerning parentage, family status, and medical information. Court orders and approved laboratories are often required. Genetic medicine and genetic research are nevertheless widespread in Israel. The regulatory system reflects privacy, family law, and religious status concerns. No evidence shows that its purpose is to conceal Ashkenazi ancestry. The next claim, Zionism is Judaism. Or this claim, Zionism is anti-Semitism and Zionism is Nazism. These are ideological slogans, but they're not factual classifications. So Zionism encompasses multiple competing political traditions. Judaism is a religion, civilization, and ethnocultural tradition that predates modern Zionism by millennia. Some Jews are anti-Zionist, non-Zionist, or post-Zionist. Many Zionists are not Jewish. Comparing Zionism as such to Nazism erases important differences in doctrines, institutions, and historical objections. Specific Israeli policies may reasonably be analyzed as apartheid, settler colonialism, ethnic cleansing, or genocide without redefining all Jews, all Zionists, or all forms of Zionism as Nazism. I think it's like almost always such a grand mistake to just compare things to Nazism, unless it's actually Nazism. Nazism is not just like, I know it's used as like a pejorative nowadays, but it actually means something academically. And Dave is an academic. I think we really need to be careful that we're not misusing historically loaded, especially on a channel that is an academic channel. That we are not just throwing around Nazism and calling Zionism Nazism. Like, this is the same, and I hate to say this, but it's the same shit flinging that I see on X and some of these platforms where people are throwing these terms around as a way to dismiss others, as a way to dismiss Zionists, even though there are anti-Zionists, non-Zionists, post-Zionists, Zionists. Zionists come in all shapes and sizes. It's not... I think saying something like Zionism is Nazism, also Zionism is anti-Semitism, Zionism is Judaism, is just not, these aren't academically correct classifications. And I think it exemplifies the kind of political rhetoric that I detest. It's a kind of name calling, and like the notes say here, erases important differences in reality between these categories. I mean, yeah, I'm trying to come up with the right words. It's just Nazism should not be used in this way. If you study Nazism and you understand what it is, there really is nothing worse in a pejorative sense that you could really call someone, or you know, if you were to say that they are a Nazi, or that like, because basically if you're saying Zionism is Nazism, you're basically saying that Zionists are Nazis. And you know, I know Zionists who you, Dave, would probably get along with fine, and that would agree with you on a lot of different things. But yeah, I don't know. It's a shame for me to see this kind of comparison. Let's check the YouTube comments for a sec here, and then we'll jump into another caller. Make sure you tag me. Yeah, my screen chat might have been frozen. Hey, how's it going?
Hello. Great.
Hey.
Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, awesome. So it's kind of my first time doing it publicly, so forgive me if I'm a little bit all over the place.
You're forgiven.
But I wanted to kind of talk about what gets to the kind of like heart of, I guess, because you're a debate organizer, right? I believe so, right?
Yeah, I do a lot of different things, but that's one of the things I do. Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to get kind of to the heart of that sort of discussion, because a lot of my problems with the video aren't necessarily that he's wrong about this or right about this. It's a little bit more about the conduct and the conduct afterwards. Especially, just like, let me just start with like the nature of the video. It is his Israel-Palestine position that is also like haphazardly mushed together with like a snarking video of Destiny's 15-year-long clipping campaign against him. He's joined sort of this group of people, and that's partly the reason I unsubscribed, is not because he had like you know, his takes on Palestine were wrong or whatever. It's mainly because it felt like the video was definitely something very personal. Like, it was a response. It was like angry. It was something that he might have rushed, because I think he's an intelligent person. I think he could do way better. I'm not sure what you think of that initiative.
Yeah, I mean, like, although there's nothing wrong with personalizing what truly is personal. All of this is personal. I think it's important for people to feel that they can be honest and give their true personhood to the world in the content creation world, and I would hope people are delivering their honest, true selves when, you know, even though they're turning on the camera for a show. So yes, but at what epistemic cost? Because here, you know, Dave, being a staunch empiricist in the way I know Dave, someone who relies on correspondence criteria of truth, made primary in his epistemic standards that give rise to things like empiricism and science as a way of knowing. Dave masters that, masters the delivery. He puts out what some people are saying are truly his first, like, you know, big political video, and there seems to be a sacrifice made to the epistemic rigor that he normally carries in his videos. So, and I think that's a problem, but it doesn't mean Dave is like, I don't think people should be, unsubscribing to Dave because he made some factual errors. He might even disagree. He might have other evidence that would show that he didn't make any factual errors. But I think if there's a panel of scientists and logicians and philosophers that do a really scrutinized deep dive into the facts expressed in the video, I think they're going to come up close to what I am presenting here today.
I don't take false political claims super personally. I was more concerned with kind of like the fact that it's about Israel-Palestine, but we're also going to include a segment about
the personal stuff at the end.
The personal stuff, yeah. Like if I were writing an academic paper and I just kind of put my grievances about my fellow classmate in the paper, I'd probably get an F. But the second question I kind of wanted to ask you was, you must encounter this a lot, and that is, this person shouldn't debate this person because they're X, or this person shouldn't debate this person because it's a waste of time, or this person shouldn't debate this person because they have too much baggage or whatever. I just wanted to see if you had kind of like a reply to that, because I do. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I'm just trying to enact my moral quest in the world by maximizing well-being for myself and those around me. I try to give examples of how everyone is worthy of my moral consideration. When I see there's an issue that's important, a current issue that's important in the war of ideas, and I think that we need to give an example to the public of what a good faith, helpful approach to a dialectic on that topic looks like. That's how I go about my value selection process in who I want to put on stage and who I think can handle the demands of the Pangburn stage, because it's not a free lunch. A lot of these guys have to sacrifice something when they come to the Pangburn stage, in that they don't just get to freely do what they want. It doesn't matter if you're Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris, Matt Dillahunty, Destiny, anyone else, Dave FARINA. They got to make their best attempt to have a good faith, helpful effort on our stage.
That's true.
So, it's I'm not only selling the intellectual content. I'm selling a vision of how I think communication should happen between humans.
It was I don't know, I'm kind of processing it, because it's very shocking, because my explanation is that I absolutely think the two should debate, because I think Dave has debated many people who arguably are engaged in the same things that he would say are bad faith. I think the video he put was definitely very aggressive. And I think that because there is an asymmetric dynamic between the two, Dave is a very big content creator, and Destiny, he has his presence, but Dave is definitely the majority position, I think, at the moment. I would gauge, and I think it gives, because it's very hard to look at Destiny's takes on the surface without him being able to respond to questions and clarify misconceptions, versus like maybe a more popular position. It's much easier to just see it once and then agree with it. And that's really why I want them to debate, because I feel like his positions could be misunderstood.
Yeah, I mean, Destiny is a guy that I feel like he's learned a lot and become much wiser in the way he frames things, and it's good to be updating our wisdom as we move along and approaching life fallibilistically. And I think it's good, you know, learning clarity of your positions in your articulations of your conceptual organization is there's so much wisdom in that, and that is the direction someone like Destiny should be moving in, so that more people can enjoy him and enjoy his work. I know that there is, you know, you wouldn't want Destiny to lose his lighthearted side. That's something that a lot of people like about him. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't practice a certain level of, say, conscientiousness when tragedy strikes, in the way you deliver your normativity to the world. But anyways, I gotta Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I agree that he's definitely unapologetic about certain things he stands for, and that can lead to some funny outcomes. But I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, thanks so much. Please stick around on our Discord server here and engage in the conversations we have every day. What up, everyone on YouTube? Make sure you smash the like button on this stream. Really appreciate it if you do. We are just going through the fact checking of Dave Farina's viral video that he just dropped, where he really goes after Destiny with regards to Israel-Palestine and some of Destiny's personal issues, which we have yet to get to. We are about halfway through the fact check for anyone that's keeping score out there. And then we'll probably break out into a more open general conversation. I will take a few more callers along the way. So let's move to the section USS Liberty and nuclear weapons. USS Liberty. The attack was real, killing 34 Americans and injuring 171. The official U.S. and Israeli conclusion was mistaken identity, but survivors, former officials, and some researchers have argued that it was deliberate. Even official U.S. historical records acknowledge severe identification failures and reasons to doubt portions of the Israeli account. Dave's video is perfectly entitled to say the official explanation is disputed. It is not, however, it shouldn't present this as a deliberate false flag plan as conclusively established. The U.S. Naval History and Heritage Command describes deliberate attack evidence as contested. So it's not an established fact that USS Liberty was a deliberate false flag plan. The Samson option. Israel is widely believed to possess nuclear weapons while maintaining official nuclear opacity and remaining outside the NPT. A last resort strategy commonly called the Samson option is discussed in serious strategic literature. But, quote, Israel will nuke everyone on earth if it loses, is of course a sensationalized statement. The doctrine is generally described as massive nuclear retaliation against enemy states in an existential defeat scenario, not a documented plan to exterminate humanity indiscriminately. So, yeah, the quote from Dave, Israel will nuke everyone on earth if it loses, with regards to the Samson option, that's just sensationalism, I think. Israel and foreign sex offenders. The video statement that Israel has sometimes functioned as a haven for foreign Jewish sex offenders has a factual basis. Investigations and Israeli reporting have documented accused offenders using the law of return, citizenship, and slow extradition proceedings to evade foreign authorities. However, Israel does not extradite and prosecute offenders. The problem is not evidence that Israel officially endorses sexual offenders. Connecting this phenomena to Destiny's political position through insinuation is guilt by association, not analysis. So, yeah, there is some truth here. but the connection to destiny, this kind of guilt by association that later on in the video, we talk about some allegations that are aimed at destiny of a sexual nature. It seems like another conspiratorial line drawing effort. Okay, now we're into the claims about destiny section here. Funnily enough, we led right into that. So when Destiny says, I'm pro-genocide in a video. So the quoted phrase exists, as we saw in the video. It is plainly reckless and morally significant, but a quotation still requires its complete conversational context, date, whether it was sarcastic or hyperbolic, what population and policy were being discussed, and whether the speaker later clarified the position. It's totally fair to criticize the statement, but it cannot establish someone's complete present position on inner intent merely by repeating the most incriminating clip. So Destiny described during his live stream, and I'm going to do a fact check of Destiny's live stream that he did today. I'm going to do that fact check tomorrow. But he did describe, he did give a reason as to why he said that, and it had to do with, being kind of sarcastic and hyperbolic, trying to show how seemingly impossible it feels to solve the land issue in that part of the Middle East. And he throws his hands up and says, well, I guess I'm pro-genocide then. I'm pro-genocide, but it's being used in the video to, and it's fine. I mean, Dave's allowed to use that as in a lighthearted, comedic way, and also to drive home a point. It's not that Destiny never said it, but surely Dave Farina's listeners wouldn't view that as Destiny just saying out loud that he's pro-genociding the Palestinian people. Hopefully they would be able to understand that Destiny's engaging in some kind of Destiny rhetoric there. Advice to Destiny in a video clip apparently gives advice to Israeli soldiers to put away their cameras. The quote telling soldiers not to film themselves wearing Palestinian women's clothing is real. It can reasonably be condemned as callous because it treats degrading behavior as a public relations error and makes a joke using the term war crimes. So yeah, this is Destiny's making a joke here, and it's dark humor, right? That's the way I understood it, and I understand how people are not going to like that kind of humor, but my understanding of that moment is that he was making a joke, and I believe he was talking in front of a group of Jewish people when he was in Israel. So it is nevertheless interpretation, not a proven fact, to say this establishes that he knowingly advised soldiers to conceal actual prosecutable war crimes. So, I think Destiny can be a lot wiser in some of the ways he delivers ideas and some of the jokes he makes. Our words, have meaning and different meaning to different people. And I think it's, if you are giving, full moral consideration to yourself and those around you, which I think you should. I think you should care about your own well-being, your physical, mental, and social health, and those around you. It's not that there's no place to joke anymore, and that you have to be this censored individual that can't express their sense of humor. Not at all. It's just some cases perhaps Destiny can be more wise in that rhetoric or in that display of his sense of humor. But I do think it's important, lightheartedness is the fifth Pangburn virtue, with the corresponding maxim, refine and express your sense of humor. I think lightheartedness is a very strong aspect of what Destiny practices and what Dave practices. So I think they're both constantly trying to refine and express their sense of humor, and I think that's a really good thing. That leads to cognitive flexibility. It leads to their ability to, engage in debate and have successful conversations, especially with people you disagree with. So it's a good thing. You don't want to see someone like Destiny or Dave edit all that out, but it's just, where is the line with regards to your own moral foundations and trying to be a conscientious human being. The quote that Destiny's Israel trip was funded by the Israeli state. This is unverified in the evidence presented in the video. The transcript provides no financial disclosure, invoice, sponsorship agreement, or primary source confirmation, meetings with officials, or participation in an organized itinerary do not alone prove government payment. So I don't know if it was Israel who footed the bill for that trip or not. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. Maybe I can't remember if Destiny said either way. Maybe he didn't say in his video. I watched half of it today, his response video. Civil lawsuit involving intimate material. A civil lawsuit was genuinely filed alleging that Stephen Bonnell shared an intimate recording without the woman's consent. Those are allegations in pending civil litigation, not adjudicated findings. The video states that he is being sued for sharing nudes of a minor. The report complaint concerned an adult plaintiff and does not support that formulation. This is a serious factual distortion. So Destiny is not being sued for nudes of a minor, as far as I know. That's not what he's being sued for. So I think that's misinformation there. I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding. Remaining sexual assault, grooming, and abuse allegations. The video repeatedly moves among court allegations, secondhand reports, hostile commentary videos, screenshots whose provenance is not established in the presentation, jokes or quotations, the narrator's own interpretations, and this would be Dave. So an academically responsible presentation would identify each allegation separately, cite the primary record, distinguish admitted conduct from disputed conduct, and clearly state whether any court or independent investigation substantiate it. The video does not do that. This is a big problem, right? Dave isn't in the world the way I know Dave and his work. He's not in the world of saying like, trust me, bro, just take my word for it. These are the things that happened. Dave's bringing the goods. He's bringing the evidence. He's bringing the proof. He's bringing the argumentation. But this is kind of just throwing stuff around. And it's really, I mean, it's important stuff to be just throwing around. So I think there's a responsibility to do better with regards to things like this on Dave's part. Discussion of Destiny's minor son. The attack on his child is irrelevant to the substantive political dispute, is unsupported in the presentation, and falls far below scholarly or journalistic standards. Yeah, I can't remember exactly what was said about Destiny's son in this. my system didn't give me the actual quote, but we can look into that. But yeah, I don't think Dave should be bringing up Destiny's Son unless there's something of relevance. Okay. Let's do some final summaries here, and then we'll kind of open up the room here to general conversation. And I'll, what we can do while I'm going through this final summary, Perry, if you wouldn't mind bringing everyone up who has something to say, we're just going to have kind of a group conversation here about this. I don't know if there's a queue, but yeah, anyone who wants to come up, Perry can get you up here, and just stay muted until I finish this last part. Okay, so let's go where Dave was right in this video first. So the video has strong evidentiary grounds when discussing the extraordinary scale of civilian death and physical destruction in Gaza. Well-documented dehumanizing rhetoric by Israeli public figures, credible genocide conclusions reached by major organizations and experts, the apartheid findings of Amnesty, HRW, and B'Tselem, sexual violence and torture against Palestinian detainees, killings of journalists, medical workers, and children, Palantir's Israeli partnership and ICE contracts, Meta and YouTube's removal of Palestinian material, AIPAC's, AIPAC's large electoral expenditures, Israeli-made surveillance equipment entering U.S. policing, problems involving offenders fleeing to Israel. Now claims Dave gets wrong or materially distorts. Here are the most important errors. Claiming universal agreement that genocide has been legally established, treating the Lancet's 186,000 illustration as a measured death toll, asserting that 20% of Gaza's population has died, claiming that more than 80% of Israelis support annihilation, categorically dismissing October 7th sexual violence, claiming hundreds of October 7th deaths were proven IDF killings, treating all white phosphorus use as inherently illegal, converting health workers into doctors and killed journalists into deliberately targeted journalists, claiming a U.S.-Israel bill merges the militaries or could produce a coup, saying Ellison personally bought TikTok and owned CBS, CNN, and HBO, alleging automatic Israeli access to U.S. police surveillance data, presenting Zionist control of Western media as a fact, using scientifically erroneous claims about Semites and Ashkenazi ancestry, claiming ancestry test regulation exists to conceal Jewish origins, presenting contested personal and sexual allegations as proven facts. So the academic reliability here, humanitarian documentation is moderately strong, legal precision is mixed, statistical accuracy is weak, which is strange for Dave. Historical genetic analysis is very weak, again, strange. Treatment of contrary evidence is weak. Treatment of personal allegations unacceptable. Overall, this video has low reliability despite a significant factual core. So there's a lot of exaggeration where the information in the video didn't need it. Inflating numbers, denying contrary evidence, and introducing ethnic-controlled conspiracies and personal attacks. The evidentiary case is made less credible. Just a kind of across the board in the video because of the failings in certain parts of the video. So for me, with regards to my epistemic standards, I'm an empiricist. Just to get a little more philosophically detailed in that, when it comes to JTB, justified true belief, I make correspondence criteria of truth primary. Correspondence criteria of truth is basically someone makes a claim, and I like to give this example just for people who aren't aware. Someone makes a claim that the Statue of Liberty exists in New York City. That is true if, in fact, the object in reference, which is the Statue of Liberty, actually can be verified to exist in New York City. So it's basically, that which corresponds to reality when you're judging propositions. That is the foundation of things like empiricism, things like, and that lead to science as a way of knowing. And with regards to justification, I require demonstration, often comes in the form of evidence. And then, of course, I have to believe the proposition to be true in order for me to call it knowledge. So that's my knowledge structure. And by that structure, I have to say that I think Dave failed by my epistemic standards. I think he failed empirically. Ethically, there's some problems. I think it's and just to outline my ethical standards, my moral quest is to maximize well-being for myself and those around me. This is ultimately born of my sentiments that do that value sorting, that give rise to my moral quest. That's how I think all human beings come to their normative stances, their ethical stances, their moral stances. So when I look at, does this video maximize well-being for Dave and those around them? And by well-being, I mean physical, mental, and social health. I think the emphasis on the tragedy of this war is important. Whether or not you're going to call what happened a genocide or not, the innocents that have lost their life, their homes, their city, their way of being is a horrific tragedy that surely weighs deeply into how Dave delivered this video. Very important to raise awareness to that. No question. The lack of clarity on the facts is a problem with an issue like this. It's already radically charged and really gets people, for good reason, gets their blood boiling in their stomach, causing them to give their moral prescriptions. But you are doing a disservice to people if you aren't giving them the actual facts, or if you are making too many mistakes. And I think Dave made way too many mistakes in this video, because that's going to cause them to be making these moral prescriptions or becoming inflamed in a direction that isn't grounded in the facts in some of these cases. So I don't think it's a good video. Generally, I think it's probably what I would consider a bad video by my ethical standards. And that isn't to say there aren't some righteous, there isn't righteousness in some of the bad things in the video. So in moral philosophy, once you start getting into high resolution academic philosophy, you're going to delineate between good, bad, right, and wrong. Why? Because the ultimate question of your moral system is going to come up when it's asked, well, how do you deal with war? How do you deal with violent conflict? And many people are not simply going to sit down and say, well, I'm a Jainist. I just sit there and let people kill me and my family, or, you know, whatever the extreme example might be. So for that reason, you start realizing that you need to delineate in your moral standards and in your applied morality between good, bad, right, and wrong. So there's a lot of righteousness in what Dave is doing and what Dave is trying to do here in this video. There's some wrongful things, and we went through them. So yeah, I'm, you know, I for one am a you know, big fan of Professor Dave, and I just think this one was a dud, but that doesn't take away from his. And it's not to say everything in the video was a dud, and that's not to take away from the amazing video content and library that Dave has. And I think people should really not be quick to like dismiss Dave FARINA and like unsubscribe from his channel. No. I think you should just engage with your epistemic standards and your ethical standards, make an assessment on the video, and maybe you think Dave was right here, maybe you think Dave was wrong, but that doesn't mean you can't be ready to go for the next Dave FARINA video. Everyone on YouTube, we are going to open up the mics and have a general conversation. If you want to jump into the general battlefield here, come and join us. I gave you guys the Discord link there. There's a lot of you that have had a lot to say in the chat. I'm just going to scroll up quickly, see if anyone pinned me. If you want me to respond to something, tag me. Or if, you know, if you enjoyed the video, if you drop a super chat, I'll be sure to respond to that as well. But anyways, who wants to go first on Discord here? Feel free to unmute and let us have it. Maybe someone who hasn't spoken yet. We could talk Roblox, or I can't see that person's full name. P something.
Yeah,
yeah.
Plate. I think Plate was up next in the queue, and then I'll give my 90-second David afterward.
Sure.
I can start. I just wanted to comment. Also, sorry if my English is not the best. I'm not native
It sounds
speaker.
great to me.
Thanks. So you've made some claims about how they've presented the genetic testing restrictions and the Ashkenazi Jews ethnicities or belongings. And the claim was that, or like your claim, that Dave has said the Ashkenazi Jews were completely or fully European.
Yeah, Dave said in the video, Ashkenazi Jews are simply European.
He didn't. That's what I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
He did say, I can give you the timestamp if you want to, that he did say that they are still to some point like Middle Eastern, but over time that heritage has faded to the point where they are essentially European, but not fully European.
I'm gonna double check the quote right now, and we'll see who's right.
Okay.
Maybe you're right. Did you check the transcript?
I watched the video. It's at 1 hour. If you want the time.
Okay.
1 hour, 23 minutes, and 15 seconds, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Let me take a look at it. I'm pulling it up right now. But did you have any other points in the meantime?
It's also the other one that you also said that Dave said that the genetic testing in the state of Israel was completely restricted, and that's also one thing that he didn't say, and he showed it on screen as well as like the law. So I think it's law from 2000 about the genetic information or something.
Yeah, let me pull that up.
Okay.
Um,
I can also give timestamp for that if you need to.
yeah. Do you mind typing the timestamps in the chat as well? That would be great.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just looking for. To see the claims of. So you're saying that Dave argued that Ashkenazi Jews are largely or predominantly European rather than Middle Eastern?
Yes. And you said that they argued they are fully European. I might have misunderstood what he said, but he said that they are largely European. And
okay, yeah.
to
Instead
me,
of
that sounds a bit different.
fully between fully and largely. Yeah, we want to be precise, right? So let's see. Dave actually said Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews such as Netanyahu are Europeans and not Semites. Ashkenazi Jews are way more European than Middle Eastern. They possess some Middle Eastern ancestry, but he claimed it became diluted and that they are largely European. So, and then let me just go up to my reference here. Oh, instead of simply, you're saying largely.
Yeah, I think it's a big difference because
yeah, I think that's
and how it might be acknowledged by people.
Yeah. Now let me see here. I think it's still false. Do you think it's still false, or do you think it's true that the Ashkenazi Jews are largely European?
I think it varies a lot person to person, right? But
Sure.
I think they are.
But this is an
largely
overgeneralized
European.
statement, right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
do you agree with Dave's statement that they are
Yes,
largely
I think
European?
I do. Like if
Okay.
I had to categorize them, which I don't want to do with anyone, but I would put them more in European rather than actual core Jewish.
Yeah, I'm still being told here, like, according to the data, it's scientifically misleading if presented as a fact. And I think like Dave is kind of, I think Dave would probably agree he was presenting this as a fact, you know, whether he's saying largely or simply, but Ashkenazi Jews are, you know, largely European, presented as a fact. Is it a fact? So genome-wide studies consistently describe Ashkenazi Jews as a distinct mixed population with substantial European and Levantine Middle Eastern ancestry. One major sequencing study estimated approximately even mixture of European and likely Middle Eastern ancestry. Another analysis found that recent genome-wide estimates converge around 50% European ancestry, with the Middle Eastern component localized primarily to the Levant. Okay, more. There's also a distinction between different genetic lines. Much Ashkenazi maternal mitochondrial ancestry may trace to Europe, while many paternal lineages show substantial Middle Eastern origins. Maternal line findings cannot be generalized to the entire genome. So therefore, you know, Ashkenazi Jews are largely European is highly disputable and misleading, rather than simply false, according to Nature, PubMed, and a few other sources here. Let's see.
Yeah, it's definitely not a concrete way to phrase it. That's for certain.
Yeah, NIH.gov, cell.com. Cell.com has a lot of fantastic genealogical information. So yeah, I mean, I still think the criticism is, and I'm glad you caught that. But I think the general criticism is still correct. But simply incorrect word. And then what was the other one?
Is the you claim that Dave said that the genetic testing kits in Israel are banned. Right. He did not say that also. It's the same topic. That's the part I remember.
I'm pulling
the
that
most.
up.
Okay. It's a screenshot in the video, and he also said this.
So you're saying he didn't say Israel bans ancestry tests because they would expose Jewish origins?
Yes, he did say they are restricted, but he never said they are banned.
Israel bans ancestry tests because they would expose Jew. So you're saying he didn't say Israel bans ancestry tests?
Yes.
Let's take a look. This is good, by the way. Thank you.
I try my best.
Yes. Well, now that you're here, this means you can never leave our server.
Oh, God.
But this is what it means to, by the way, everyone, be open to update. You don't have to dig your heels in and say, well, I mean, basically what I said was the same anyway. He's still fucking stupid for saying that. Like, you don't have to frame it that way. You can correct as you go. These aren't the only errors that were made tonight. Not at all. I hope that there weren't too many, and if there are, we can correct them in the comment section, in the description. By the way, I'll say this in the video, that if you keep an eye on the description and in the pinned comment to see if there are any corrections updated after this video is complete. My X account is on fire today. By the way, if anyone wants to contribute to sharing my tweet that's traveling around right now, I guess it's called a post now. There's the X post. I put the proposition to Hassan and Steven that if they agree to do an event together, that we could raise $5 million for Palestinian children. And I think even if this doesn't happen, I think it's important something to point to, because this is a modest number, by the way, of what we could the kind of money that we could raise. And all someone like Hassan would have to do is say, well, you know what, Pangburn came with this idea, and as much as I despise Destiny, we're raising $5 million for us to sit down and talk a little bit about ideas. I, of course, don't condone at all, this, that, and the other. You say all the things you feel you have a moral responsibility to say, and then you do the morally transcending thing to raise $5 million by just taking one evening out of your day to sit down with someone and have a conversation with someone you don't like, or you famously or infamously, depending on where you sit, don't like, to raise this money. That's the good and righteous thing to do. So Dave said, this is also why these ancestry kits are tightly regulated in Israel. and can't be purchased in Israel. They don't want citizens to find out that they're not, etc. So Israel bans ancestry tests because they would expose Jewish origins, is a loose paraphrase. But yeah, there isn't, and you're right to point this out. So a better summary is Dave claimed that ancestry kits are tightly regulated and unavailable for purchase in Israel because Israeli authorities do not want citizens discovering that they are not Middle Eastern. Is kind of a better summary, I think, of what Dave was saying.
I don't know where he got the part where he says they regulate it because they don't want the people there to find out they are largely European.
You don't know where he got that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I had to make anything.
If you're offering a critique.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm curious where Dave is getting a lot of this stuff, and I'm surely what Dave has delivered in the video is correct by the standards of some source out there.
Yeah. Also, can I ask you a bit of a question about you said earlier that it has not been established as a fact that they commit genocide when you were doing the summary thing.
Before we go there, I just want to finish off this thing with regards to, Dave claimed that ancestry kits are tightly regulated and unavailable for purchase in Israel because Israeli authorities do not want citizens discovering that they are not Middle Eastern. So as written here, it still remains untrue or at best seriously misleading. So ancestry kits are tightly regulated in Israel is partly true. Ancestry kits are unavailable for purchase in Israel. That's false as a blanket claim. And the restrictions exist because authorities do not want Jews discovering that they are not Middle Eastern. That's an unsupported conspiracy claim. So, yeah, even with the update.
But the law that says the restriction of the genetic testing kits, it that's the thing. It says that you can't just buy it in the store.
So the restriction exists because authorities do not want Jews to come. So that's the unsupported conspiracy claim. So there's no evidence is presented for that motive. Official Israeli sources connect restrictions to the genetic information law, court-supervised determinations of legal family status, approved laboratories, privacy, and the lawful handling of genetic data. So not the concealing of Jewish ancestry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you had a question about the genocide, right?
Yeah. So, what would it take for you to take the genocide that's happening in the region as an established fact? Because there isn't like a supreme body of truth to tell us that.
Well, there's the International Court determination, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm waiting for that. If the International Court determination determines that, yes, a genocide was committed, I will accept and believe that a genocide was committed. I'm relying on that body of consensus for that. For the truth of
I was confused because what I took was many human rights groups were accusing the state, but I think that's just our difference on how we separate established facts from not established facts.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, for me, like, I want to know, like, what is the governing body, the United Nations in this case, that determines whether or not. And that's my understanding. That's where the International Court sits to make this determination. that's what I'm going with. Much like, when someone says, what do you think? Did this person, abuse this other person or not? And they're going to go to court, or the courts are handling it. I'm waiting for court findings, for the experts to do what experts do in these scenarios. So I'm not making a statement that there has not been a genocide, but I'm waiting. I'm not just agreeing with the expert conclusions where there are disputes. I'm waiting for it to be properly adjudicated.
Well, we'll have to wait to hear what the Catholic Church says, because they're the true rule governing body.
Well,
I think
that, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think that I haven't watched too much of Dave's content outside of the TikTok flat Earth debunks that I've trained my algorithm to put on my feed for some stupid reason. But I was very surprised to see a complete shift, a 180 it seems, going from debunking conspiratorial thinking to utilizing it. Now, epistemically, fails for me. And I lost count, but I think he was below 50%. And even the things that he did get right, he attached some conspiratorial speculation at the end of it. For example, well, we just talked about one, the genetic testing. Okay, it's true that Israel or whomever regulated strict regulations on giving the genetic testing. And he adds at the end of it, because they don't want to know their true origins. Where do you get that from? He's attaching that on. Another one was the
mind reading, right?
Another one was the, what's it called, Falco nets that the police use.
Yeah, that somehow that means that the Israelis get all that information. Yeah,
correct. Where did that come from? So, if he wasn't just dead wrong, he had to attach a mini Dave FARINA at the end of it, little David at the end, to now is something about politics and religion, but politics and specifically this topic, people have great sentimental magnitude around it. And it's understandable. Yeah. I mean, if people perceive that there's a genocide going on and whatever oppression, I get it. The empathy drive will probably take over. But again, coming from a academic, I have to sit tonight and think about how human nature can really take over the proper academic epistemic route that people like Dave FARINA should be taking. And the ad homs, I mean, another shout to how sentimentally loaded this topic is, that he feels the need to go ad hom in complete petulance against destiny. I think that this will be, dare I say good, this will be useful for Dave in the short term, this video. I think in the long term, he's implemented many cancerous cells in his intellectual life with this video that will have long-term effects.
Interesting. Yeah, thanks, Perry. Anyone else? Roblox, would you like to speak?
Yeah, my name is Vulcan. It's not Roblox.
So like this?
Yeah. That was the game I was playing while waiting, so my fault.
So if I do this, can you do it on the other side, and then we can go together and then open up and see what happens?
Disgusting.
Damn.
Sorry, go ahead,
But,
Vulcan.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna talk about two main topics. First is the presence of gore in Dave's video, and secondly, if you want to, some more of Destiny's personal life and how Dave misrepresented it, but that's optional. But the first one, with the gore topic, real quick, do you make a distinct distinction between a belief rooted in emotion and a belief rooted in logic?
I think there's no such thing as a human being operating in any way that is absent emotion or sentimentality. So I think cognitive science draws this out for us quite clearly, that we're only engaging in logic because we feel it's good to engage in logic, and we feel that logic is applicable here. We feel that the application of logic in this way is the good thing. So I think it's all feelings. I think it's all emotions. But that's my meta answer to your question.
Yeah. Well, what I'm trying to say here is that there's two different ways of engaging with information, you know? Like, the reason why I believe 1 + 1 = 2 is because of addition, you know? And the reason why I believe that I shouldn't touch the stove is because the emotional reaction of getting burned, you know? And I would say that touching the stove, like, the reason why I'm not doing it is an emotional belief, and 1 + 1 = 2 is a logical belief because it's rooted in addition, like logical and operator, you know?
Yeah, but you still have to feel that the proposition is correct or true.
Of course.
Like beliefs. Yeah. So like, I would say ultimately you value mathematics and what mathematics has to say, because you feel something about it. You feel that it's useful. You feel that it's epistemically correct. You feel that it's logically sound. Like all of that is a feeling. And then the other, you also believe, that it's not good to touch a hot stove because it's going to hurt. I think that's a belief, born of your sentiments as well.
The reason why I make this distinction is because, like, these two ways of engaging with information, they're going to be like two different paths of knowledge, where if you have a big foundation of beliefs rooted in emotion, then logical arguments can't change the way that you feel about them. And if a whole belief system rooted in logic, emotional arguments are not going to change your opinion there, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I understand like that kind of meme, but I think again, once we start looking at cognitive science academically, we are not governed and existing in that kind of binary that I think you point out there. And just because someone was, convinced into a position by way of, say, their emotional knee-jerk reaction to something, doesn't mean that, a formal syllogism can't convince them out of that emotional knee-jerk belief. So I'm not sure I believe what you're outlining, but maybe if you want to go to your kind of your something related to the videos. Yeah.
I think that Dave, including like 20 minutes of like videos depicting violence that Palestinians have incurred, I think that it's like building the emotional foundation of like why it's a genocide or why Israelis are bad, you know. It's building that emotional foundation so that any future logic or reasoning can't even affect that emotional foundation built by seeing the gore and seeing the casualties right in front of you, you know? And in that way,
Right.
you're like, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, keep going. Yeah.
Okay. And I'm not sure if it's intentional by Dave's mind. I'm not sure if he wants this, but by building this small emotional foundation of like why this is bad, why it's a genocide, you're building like a part of your mind that it can't be interfaced with any future argument or even like further conversation, because it's a fundamentally different way of believing things, you know?
Yeah,
So
I mean, I think there's it's an interesting idea you have. It might open up if you're cognitively flexible enough to open this up and fallibilistic enough to open this up to, you know, some more higher learning. You might find that your conceptualization here might be a little simplified, a little too black and white with regards to the human condition. And I think there are so many things at play when we are value sorting by way of our sentiments. Yeah. And like I said, it can be really hard to identify what the thing was, for example, that truly did start convincing you more of a proposition. It's you know, we can, as an exercise, we can try to map that out, but it's a really difficult thing to nail down, and it's almost certainly not the case that it is, you know, any kind of binary operating system, even at the most fundamental level of our value sorting. Because you can imagine this, like, as we're moving through life, we're being proposed things all the time by way of our sense-making apparatus. Sometimes, you know, audibly by way of language, we receive, like, you know, a classic proposition, or, you know, nature is sending propositions our way by way of weather changes, gusts of wind, sticks falling down from trees and hitting us on the head. So we're always in this, like, game of belief, which the belief itself, just speaking of binaries, where binaries do exist, you are either in a state of acceptance of a proposition or not. There is no middle ground. Even if you are not sure, you still haven't accepted the proposition. Yep. So there is a binary relationship with regards to the phenomena of belief, but, you know, then we start opening up the can of worms of the different value making that is interplaying with those accepted or not accepted propositions. So what you're talking about is actually extremely complicated.
Yeah, I understand that, and I'm definitely working with heuristics. So
yeah, fair enough.
80% there and 20% is going to be I got you. But practically speaking, do you think I'm like at least 50% like correct in how I'm like explaining how the beliefs are interfacing with each other?
I don't think it's wise to separate these things into emotions over here and non-emotions over here, or logic over here. I think these are interconnected and interdependent. I think logic requires the commitment of our feelings at a fun. If you're really trying to get to like a you know, a fundamental understanding of what, you know, modern cognitive scientific modeling is showing us, which is that we are these sentimental value sorting agents at that fundamental level that do engage with this binary phenomena of belief when it comes to knowledge making,
Yeah.
our epistemics. So
I'm not
but
trying to come off like the pure rational, pure logic. Like even I'm a very creative person. I made YouTube videos and I want to be a game developer. And
Oh, cool.
a lot of that is like very emotional, like based belief, where like editing decisions or choices in color are entirely dependent on how do I feel about this and how does the society I'm in feel about this. So I'm not trying to come off like emotions are bad, logic is good. I'm just I think practically speaking, there's like different ways of engaging with information, and by sorting it in emotion based and logic based, it's pretty practical.
Yeah, I mean, it's a common trope. It's a this like thing where people are like, I don't think with my emotions, I think with logic.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very common thing you hear, but it's not really an academic thing to say, is kind of what I'm getting at. Like,
Yeah.
And there's a way to move from, low resolution to higher resolutions, understanding of what's actually going on in reality. And I would say, yeah, some of that stuff we're talking about is in that low resolution realm, and we can reach higher by way of good study and good faith, helpful dialectic. Everyone else has spoken here, I think. So
If you want,
yeah,
I do think like later on in the video where Dave is talking about like Destiny's lawsuit.
Yep.
If you want, I can I've seen Destiny's coverage of his own transcripts, so I know
Yep.
some of the details around that. I do think that like the lawsuit constantly being used as like a weapon against Destiny, and like people never talking about the fact of the matter, or like people involved, the plaintiff, the defendant, or even like the main victim of it all, which is not Destiny or the plaintiff. I do think that Dave using it as a weapon and like not talking about the real victims is pretty bad,
Yeah. It's that's where the thing just goes to, I use the restaurant analogy of, and this is something that's become popular and fun to use in the Pangburn universe, where we will use the dietary analogy. So that kind of stuff, when Dave or Destiny or anyone else engages in that kind of like personal attack smearing, I would consider that not even McDonald's level intellectual diet, but we're talking about people eating from the dirty dumpster behind the McDonald's. That's that kind of bullshit is what I consider, like anti-intellectual garbage that is of no good nutritional value and can make you intellectually sick. And so whenever Dave or Destiny or anyone else, Matt Dillahunty, whoever engages in that kind of crap, I'm just like, you're going from like this something that can be on regular occasion high resolution to just like throwing yourself into the dumpster and eating week old moldy McDonald's scraps and also offering it to your audience. Like, it's nasty.
Yeah. If you want, I can talk about some like facts of the case and like talk about the real victim.
Oh no, I don't want to get into that here. I want to get into reading my final virtue scorecard here for Dave's video. Yeah, thank you, and I really appreciate the call, and I'm glad to see so many new members from this live stream here in the Pangburn Universe Discord server. So the overall virtue scorecard, so the 6 Pangburn virtues and maxims: fallibilism, certainty is almost certainly unattainable; well-being, maximize well-being for yourself and those around you; communication, good faith and helpfulness are the minimum requirements for a fruitful dialectic; patience, ultimate patience even in the face of detestable ideas; lightheartedness, refine and express your sense of humor; and inspiration, Let art and science inspire. So what I'm going to do next here, and then I want to, anyone else, by the way, Don, anyone else who wants to jump up and join the general chat after I read through my virtue scorecard for the transcript here from the video. So the overall, well, I'll give the overall score at the end. So fallibilism. Usually Dave is sitting very high in the fallibilism score when I run any of his transcripts. So for this one, he's getting a 3.6 out of 10, which is a failing grade. A lot of this has to do with the, the epistemic errors, the certainty posturing. Certainty is almost certainly unattainable, so why are we certainty posturing? We should be posturing our fallibilism, our openness to update. That's how we should be posturing intellectually. So the video does perform some legitimate corrective work. It challenges the false 40 beheaded babies story correctly, criticizes Biden's claim to have personally seen photographs. Why would Biden lie about that? That's just, I almost said the R word. Identifies the mistranslated Arabic calendar presented as a list of Hamas guards and questions exaggerated descriptions of the alleged command center beneath Shifa Hospital. These moments demonstrate skepticism toward official narratives and a willingness to investigate propaganda. The video is also correct to resist the idea that powerful governments, militaries, media institutions, or intelligence agencies deserve automatic epistemic trust. That critical posture is compatible with fallibilism when it is applied consistently. So evidence against fallibilism here, the central failure is asymmetric skepticism. So the video demands extraordinary scrutiny of Israeli and Western claims while treating claims supporting its own narrative with insufficient skepticism. It categorically dismisses October 7th sexual violence despite a UN mission finding reasonable grounds to believe rape and gang rape occurred. It presents the claim that Israel knowingly permitted October 7th as though intelligence failure were evidence of intentional facilitation. It also treats uncertain estimates, disputed interpretations, and speculative extrapolations as established facts. The claim that Israel is, quote, objectively committing genocide is defensible as an expert conclusion, but the video presents it as an uncontested judicial fact, even though no final ICJ merits judgment has been issued. It claims that every human rights organization agrees when institutional conclusions and terminology differ. It converts a Lancet correspondence illustrating a possible eventual indirect death burden into a measured present death toll. The video's repeated use of absolute terms, every, all, objectively, proven, suggests confidence first reasoning. Its worldview is therefore skeptical of opponents, but insufficiently skeptical of itself. Fallibilism, remember, is not merely distrusting authority. It is applying uncertainty, qualification, and standards of evidence, even when the evidence appears to support one's moral commitments. The video performs adversarial skepticism rather than disciplined fallibilism. So that's why he receives a failing grade of 3.6 out of 10 for fallibilism. Well-being. Maximize well-being for yourself and those around you. 6.4 out of 10, a B-. Evidence supporting the virtue. The video's strongest moral feature is its sustained attention to Palestinian suffering. It highlights civilian deaths, destruction of homes and infrastructure, attacks affecting hospitals and schools, deaths of journalists and health workers, abuse of detainees, the deliberate killing of children in documented cases, and credible findings of apartheid and genocidal acts. Many of these concerns are strongly supported by fact check. Evidence against the virtue. The method undermines the humanitarian aim, inflating casualty numbers, claiming that 20% of Gaza's population has already died, misrepresenting the Lancet figure, and claiming that more than 80% of Israelis support Palestinian annihilation, do not improve Palestinian well-being. They weaken trust in accurate documentation and make legitimate evidence easier for critics to dismiss. The categorical denial of October 7th sexual violence includes Israeli victims from the circle of moral concern. Likewise, presenting Hezbollah almost entirely as a defensive organization omits attacks against civilians, political coercion, its role in Syria, and its revolutionary Islamist history. A genuinely universal well-being framework must condemn abuses independently of the perpetrator's identity. The personal sections are particularly damaging to the score here. The video conflates pending civil allegations, hostile commentary, disputed screenshots, and unverified accusations. It falsely characterizes a complaint involving an adult plaintiff as involving nudes of a minor and attacks Destiny's child, who is irrelevant to the political argument. These choices inflict foreseeable personal and reputational harm without adequate evidentiary justification. The video's underlying humanitarian concern is real and morally important. However, Pangburnian well-being evaluates both intention and method. A speaker does not maximize well-being by opposing one population's dehumanization while minimizing another population's victimization or recklessly harming private individuals. Communication. Good faith and helpfulness are the minimum requirements for fruitful dialectic. That is the maxim that governs the Pangburn stage. Everyone who comes to perform in the dialectic on the Pangburn stage is tasked to adhere to this rule of good faith and helpfulness. So the video evidently communicates with force, urgency, and considerable information density. It draws attention to subjects often inadequately covered in mainstream discourse, including detainee abuse, surveillance technology, lobbying, expenditure, media content removal, and extremist rhetoric by Israeli public figures. The communication is described by the fact check as by the standards of my fact check, as rhetorically extreme and methodologically poor. The video repeatedly substitutes insults, motive speculation, guilt by association, and personal accusation for argument. It moves from true premises to unsupported conclusions. For example, Palantir works with Israel and ICE, therefore Israel controls systems used against American protesters. Israeli surveillance technology is used by U.S. police, therefore all gathered information is accessible to Israel. Larry Ellison has substantial influence through Oracle and investment structures, therefore he personally bought TikTok and owned CBS, CNN, HBO, and other outlets. Zionist political and media influence exists, therefore Zionists control nearly all Western media. These transitions are not merely technical mistakes. They make the communication less helpful because they obscure the distinction between documented institutional influence and centralized conspiratorial control. The treatment of Destiny is especially inconsistent with good faith dialectic. The video uses his most incriminating clips without sufficient context, interprets a callous joke as proof of knowingly concealing prosecutable war crimes, and treats unresolved allegations as established personal facts. Attacking his minor child. Is this child a minor? I don't know if this child's a minor. Attacking his minor child fails. Yeah, attacking his minor child falls entirely outside fruitful discourse. So effective communication is not measured only by passion, virality, or the number of facts presented. The Pangburn standard asks whether communication helps the audience understand reality. Here, legitimate facts are repeatedly surrounded by exaggeration and insinuation, substantially reducing clarity and trustworthiness. So the communication effort here is a failing grade. Another failing grade is patience. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. I think people can probably understand where patience failed. Strangely enough, for Dave's worst mark here is his lightheartedness mark. The whole thing was very heavy-hearted, especially for a Dave FARINA video. So that receives a 2.7 out of 10. Lightheartedness, by the way, does not mean a lack of seriousness. When you're engaging with serious, heavy topics, that's where lightheartedness is needed most, because it causes you to remain cognitively flexible and not fall into cognitive rigidity, which I think Dave demonstrated a lot of cognitive rigidity in this video. And cognitive rigidity tends to not lead to a open interaction, openness to update interaction with the data. So that's why his score, 2.7 out of 10, an F- for lightheartedness, is where it's at. So refine and express your sense of humor. There's some sarcasm, ridicule, provocative phrasing, and attempts at dark humor. But Pangburn lightheartedness is not merely mockery or entertainment. It is humor refined by proportion, humanity, perspective. This video humor appears frequently fused with contempt, accusation, and moral escalation. The title, of course, Destiny Loves Genocide, attributes an extreme internal commitment rather than criticizing a specific statement or policy position. The treatment of Destiny's child and sexual allegations makes levity ethically dangerous because the audience is encouraged to treat serious unresolved claims as part of a spectacle. So the overall tone is described as rhetorically extreme. The presentation does not appear to use humor to preserve shared humanity or reduce tribal hatred. Instead, humor and insult often sharpen hostility. And then inspiration. Let art and science inspire. Did Dave let art and science inspire in this video? Only half as much as it should. So he gets a 5 out of 10, a C. Obviously, there's creative ambition, political commentary, documentary clips, narrative framing, historical material, media criticism, things like that. Evidence against it. The scientific and scholarly discipline invoked are often handled carelessly in this video by Dave. Statistical estimates are misrepresented. Legal findings are overstated. Genetic terminology is confused. Semitic is used incorrectly. Historical claims are stripped of qualifications. Proposed legislation is transformed into speculative scenarios unsupported by the text. So, yeah, I mean, the overall score, before I ran this scorecard, I thought it was a failing grade. And yeah, it's sitting right there at a 4.7 out of 10. So that's an F. Yeah, Don, if you want to come up and share any more thoughts before we wrap things up today, I want to encourage everyone on YouTube to please drop a like on the video. There's the link to join our Discord server. Let's invite Don up. Yeah, go ahead, Don.
I think at the end of the day, I think everyone who's been watching the stream and has been following this, and I think us at Pangburn included, would want to actually see this talked about in front of everyone on a live stage where you're forced to be a human being real quick and talk to another person. I think that when we look at the general state of politics, the more and this is it's just a talking point at this point, but I feel like you just have to talk. What's the other option? If we choose not to talk, we're choosing to do something else that I think leads to really bad results. So if we can, the least thing we can do is talk to the people we disagree with and continue. And even if you don't get anything out of it and you feel like you got nothing out of it the first time, make another video calling them retarded, and then in a year sit down and talk with them again. You could do that. I think that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think that you got to keep the conversation going. There's obviously an important disagreement here between two important creators. And, I think the Penguin Stage offers a good faith, helpful space to have these conversations. For people who are interested in, building strong political movements in the right direction, you have to be able to work with people. You can't just think that you're going to do this on your own island. And if you don't give a shit about political outcomes, I mean, I would suggest that you do, even if you claim not to. But the people involved in this conversation have a large enough platform to make differences, and they already do. But there's a lot that can be gained in uniting under certain principles, or even using a place like Pangburn to be able to come together and at least be united in the positive direction of maximizing well-being. This should be important to everyone. And no love lost on my end for Dave or Stephen. But I do think that this was not anywhere close to the best work from Dave when it comes to what the fact finding did tonight, and based on my own moral prescriptions, I'd like to see I would like to see an effort to remove bullying at any level from the content we create. That goes for, everyone, all the content I see. I don't want to see content creators bullying each other. Nobody should be bullying anyone. And part of that is just, becoming more wise to purposes you are almost certainly trying to serve. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Make sure you leave a like on the video, drop a comment on the video. When we leave, I will leave this video live to be distributed. And I hope you all enjoyed yourself. If you have any ideas of things you'd like us to cover in the future, you can DM me on Discord, send me an email, or just drop a comment in the Pangburn library on Discord here or on YouTube, and we'll get to it. Thanks, everyone. And as always, please make sure you're maximizing well-being for yourself and those around you.